ہمارے بزرگ کے حضرت مسیح علیہ السلام نے فرمایا کہ میں سیاسی اقتدار کے لیے نہیں آیا، اور خلافت کی برکت سے جماعت میں ایک انسان روحانی اور اسٹرکچرل وحدت قائم ہے، جبکہ دوسرے لوگ امام مہدی کے انتظار میں سیاسی اقتدار کے انتظار میں ہیں۔ میرا سوال یہ ہے کہ حضور کے مسلمانوں کو مستقبل میں ایک حال پر روحانی طاقت کے ساتھ ساتھ سیاسی طاقت بھی ملے گی، یہ دونوں الگ الگ نہیں ہیں؟
بات یہ ہے کہ مسیح موت کی بہتر مقصد تو ایک روحانی انقلاب پیدا کرنا ہے، اور روحانی انقلاب آئے گا تو دنیا میں جو حکومتیں بھی ہیں وہ بھی اس کے ساتھ بڑا بھی ہیں، اس سے متاثر ہوں گے۔ اس لیے مسلمان علیہ السلام کو اللہ تعالیٰ نے نام فرمایا کہ تمام مسلمانوں کو دین واحد پہ جمع کرو، اور اس کا مطلب یہ تھا کہ مسلمانوں کو اگر دین واحد پہ جمع کر لو گے، ایک چیز بنا دو گے، تو ان میں ایک روحانی انقلاب آ جائے گا، اور جب روحانی انقلاب آئے گا تو وہ دنیاوی حکومتیں ہر ایک پاس علیحدہ رہیں، تب بھی اس روحانی انقلاب کی وجہ سے بھائی بھائی بن کے رہیں گے۔ قرآن کریم میں جب یہ لکھا ہے سورہ الحجرات میں بھی کہ دو حکومتیں اگر بڑھیں تو ان میں صلح کروا دو، اور جب ان میں صلح کروا دو تو وہاں انصاف قائم کرو، اگر جب صلح ہو گئے تو انصاف قائم کرو، کسی کی زیادتی نہیں ہونی چاہیے، اور اگر کوئی دلی بات نہ آئے تو پھر باقی سب اکٹھے ہو کے حکومت یا اس کو پابند کرو، اس پہ حملہ کرو، اور ان کو جو حدود ہیں اسلام کی اور شریعت کی ان پہ ہدایت کرو۔ تو یہ مومنوں کے لیے ہے، وہ دنیا میں ہر جگہ یہ اپلائی ہو سکتا ہے ایسے ہی۔ بہرحال یہ سوچ بتاتا ہے کہ اللہ تعالیٰ کو پتا تھا کہ وقت آئے گا، اس وقت تو ایک حکومت ہی نا، لڑے تو پیچھے تھے، اور قبیلوں کو اکٹھا کر کے رکھنے کا ایک مقصد تھا، پھر بھی ایک حکومت قائم تھی، لیکن بعد میں حکومتیں ہوئی تھیں، جب ساروں کو کہا کہ دوسری حکومتیں ہوں گی، اگر کوئی زیادتی کرے حکومت دوسری حکومت پہ جو سیاسی لحاظ سے ہو تو باقی اکٹھے ہو کے اس کی زیادتی روکیں۔ تو اس سے یہ ثابت ہوا کہ حکومتیں جو ہیں دنیاوی حکومتیں وہ علیحدہ علیحدہ رہیں گی مسلمانوں میں، لیکن روحانی سربراہ ایک ہی ہوگا، اور وہ حضرت صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم کی پیشگوئی کے مطابق مسیح موعود اور مہدی موعود ہی ہوگا، اور اسی بات پر ہم یقین رکھتے ہیں، اور یہ نظام جو ہے خلافت کے تحت قائم چلتا چلا جائے گا، اور جب اسی موت کو ماننے والی حکومتیں ہوں گی تو آپس میں وہ ان کے نظام علیحدہ علیحدہ ہوں گے، ہر علاقے کے لوگ جس طرح قبائلی سردار ہوتے ہیں علیحدہ علیحدہ، قوموں کے بھی سردار ہوں گے، حکومتیں ہوں گی علیحدہ علیحدہ، لیکن آپس میں پیار محبت بھائی چارہ ہوگا، لڑائیاں فساد نہ ہوگا، اور اگر ہوگا تو جیسا کہ میں نے بتایا اللہ تعالیٰ نے سب روشنی میں حال بتا دیا کس طرح میں حال کرنا ہے۔ تو کیونکہ مسلمان جو ہے وہ شک مہدی کے انتظار رہے ہیں، مطلب ایک خونی مہدی بنایا ہوا جو تلوار سے سب کچھ کرے گا۔ تلوار سے کیا کرنا ہے؟ مسلمانوں کو اصل طاقت بھی نہیں ہے، تو اصل خریدنا چاہتے ہیں تو زیادہ سے مانگتے ہیں، لڑائی کرنے جاتے ہیں بڑی حکومت کو نظر میں دیکھتے ہیں۔ آج کل اسرائیل اور حماس کی لڑائی ہو رہی ہے تو وہاں ظلم کر رہا ہے اسرائیل، مسلمان تو اکٹھے ہو کے اپنے فلسطینیوں کو بچا سکتے ہیں، اس لیے اکٹھے نہیں ہوتے، اسی انتظار بیٹھے کہ مہدی آئے گا تو کرے گا، وہ مہدی آئے گا جس کی آپ نے فرمایا جو امن قائم کرنے والا ہوگا، اور مسیح اور مہدی ایک ہی ہوں گے، دو شخصیتیں نہیں ہوں گے، اور جب وہ ایک ہوگا تو وہ دین کو بھی پھیلائے گا اور امن بھی قائم کرے گا، اور پیار اور محبت بھائی چارے بھی تعلیم دے گا۔ اس اصول کو مسلمان سمجھ لیں اور اکٹھے ہو جائیں تو جو اللہ تعالیٰ نے بھیجا ہوا ہے قرآن شریف کی پیشگوئی کے مطابق کہ وہ آخری علماء ہمارے نبی لوگ شامل ہوئے، وہ بھی اسی طرح ہماری طرح وہ وہی لوگ ہوں گے جو مسیح موعود اور مہدی موعود ماننے والے ہوں، اور امن اور پیار کی تعلیم دینے والے ہوں، اور اصل میں مسلمان فارسی کے اندر کہا کہ حمایت میں ہی لوگوں سے ہوں گے، فارسی نسل ہوں گے یا غیر عرب ہوں گے، ان میں سے آئے گا۔ یہ نہیں ہوگا کہ ہاں اس وقت ایک شخص تو آئے گا جو دین پہ قائم کرے گا، تمہیں دوسرا شخص آئے گا جو تمہیں تلوار سے تمہارے دین کو پھیلائے گا، نہیں تلوار سے دین کو پھیلانا ہی نہیں، کیونکہ بخاری میں حدیث ہے بڑی واضح کہ جو مسیح موعود کا زمانہ آئے گا وہ ایک مجاہدہ و لڑ کرے گا، جنگوں کا خاتمہ کرے گا، جب وہ جنگوں کا خاتمہ کرے گا تو ظاہر ہے کہ
During the Muqat, a lecturer asked why there was an emphasis in hadith on reciting Surah Al-Kahf on Fridays.
तो तीसरा तो ये भी है कि पुराना इसकी पहली 10 आयत और आखिरी 10 आयतें पढ़नी चाहिए और उसमें तालीम क्या दी हुई है शुरू की 10 आयतों में यही है कि तौहीद का क़याम और तस्वीर का इनकार और अल्लाह ताला के मुकाबले में आने का इनकार और इस बात पे यकीन कि सवाल जवाब से दिलचस्पी पैदा होती है लोगों की, नौजवानों की भी, नए आने वालों की, और जब सवाल जवाब होते हैं तो उससे दिलचस्पी पैदा हो, उसके तसल्ली को जवाब मिल जाए तो फिर उनका ईमान भी इजाफा होता है। तो ये एक तरीका भी है नौजवानों को करीब लाने का, नौजवान को करीब लाने का। और दूसरे ये है कि अपनी अखलाकी हालतों को इतना बेहतर कर लें कि आपका नमूना जो है पुराने किए हुए इसको 8-10 साल हो गए, उनका नमूना देख के वो खुद ब खुद तासुर होना शुरू हो जाए और करीब आने की कोशिश करें। और आप करीब आएंगे तो कहते हैं ना मुहावरा जिनमें खुरबुजे को खुरबुजा लेकर आग पकड़ता है, तो वादा करेंगे जितना नमक की निशानी भी ये है कि एक दूसरे से जब खुरबुज हासिल होती है तो एक दूसरे से फ़ायदा उठाते हैं। ये अल्लाह ताला ने फरमाया कि मोमिनों की मजलिस में बैठने वाले वो लोग हैं जो फ़ायदा ही उठाते हैं और नुकसान नहीं उठाते। तो इस बात की तो जरूरी है।
फ़लस्तीन या यूक्रेन या चाहे इज़राइल में मासूम बच्चे और लोग जो मर रहे हैं, उनके लिए जो पूरा इंतजाम होता है कि हम उसमें हिस्सा ले सकते हैं।
हाँ बिल्कुल ले सकते हैं, लेकिन बात तो ये होता है कि जो एहतजाज ऑर्गेनाइज करने वाले होते हैं ना, वो बात तो फनेटिक किस्म के लोग होते हैं जो इस लोगों के एहतजाज को शिद्दत पसंदी बदल देते हैं, कोर्ट कोर्ट में बदलते हैं। आप जहाँ एहतजाज कर रहे हैं उनके लिए और एहतजाज करते करते अपने मुल्क की प्रॉपर्टी को नुकसान करने लग जाए, सड़कों के पोल तोड़ने लग जाए, लाइटें तोड़ने लग जाए, या बोर्ड तोड़ने लग जाए, या आगे जाने लग जाए, ये चीज़ें गलत है। वो नहीं होना चाहिए। पुराने एहतजाज है उसके आप में वोट उठा के वो कर सकते हैं, आप उसमें हिस्सा लेने की कोई हर्ज नहीं है। और सबसे बड़ी बात यह है कि यहाँ ये एमपी जो है, यहाँ दूसरे मुल्कों की जो एम्बेसी हैं, उनके एम्बेसडर को, सफीरों को खत भी लिखें, अपने सियासतदानों को खत लिखें कि फ़लस्तीन के लिए या मजलूमों के लिए दुनिया में जो जुल्म की शकील किस रहे हैं उनको कोशिश करनी चाहिए और अपना रसूल इस्तेमाल करना चाहिए। और हमारी ख्वाहिश है कि दुनिया में अमन कायम हो। तो ये काम अगर हर व्यक्ति की तरफ से चला जाए तो सियासतदानों को भी अपने अपने हाल जाएंगे और विजिटर्स को भी, तो इसका भी असर पड़ेगा। और ये भी खामोश एहतजाज का एक हिस्सा ही है। ठीक है, अल्लाह हाफ़िज़। शाम
Notable highlights from the virtual talk that took place last weekend. We now end with the final segment, Friday Sermon.
In today's Friday sermon, Hazur, may Allah be his helper, continued to relate incidents from the life of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, which took place after the Battle of Badr. Towards the end of his sermon, Hazur, may Allah be his helper, appealed for prayers for the people of Palestine.
फ़लस्तीन के मजलूमों के लिए दुआ के लिए दुआ कहता हूँ मैं। अब कम से कम इतना हुआ है कि कुछ गैर मुस्लिम और बाज़
I can see some empty seats at the front. Can I request everyone to please come forward and fill the seats first at the front? I will also request our guests, please come forward and have seats on the stage. I will call Honorable Joe Szakacs, MP, Honorable Senator Ken Grogan, Michelle Lensink, Mayor Angela Evans, Mayor Michael Coxon, Imam Kamran Bashir Sahib, and Mahmood Khan Sahib. In the name of God, the most gracious, the ever merciful. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May peace and blessings of Allah be upon you all. Honored guests and respected participants, I would like to thank each of you for joining us here today. My name is Mansoor Janjua, and I'm deeply honored to be your MC for this program due to its significance in promoting the values of peace, unity, tolerance, and understanding to seek a more peaceful future, not only locally, but globally. I would like to mention a few housekeeping details first. Restrooms for men are located outside the rear exit of the mosque hall. Turn left as you exit the hall to exit the building. Then turn right, and the restrooms will be on your right. For ladies, through the back of the hall, across the temporary partition, you would see in front of you and on the left. I will request the reception team at the rear to please guide our guests if required. In case of an emergency, if evacuation is required, your nominated hosts will direct you accordingly. Our assembly area is the car park, and the easiest exit is the one you came from. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the land we meet on today is the traditional lands of the Ghana people, the custodians of the Adelaide region, and we pay our respects to their elders, past and present. As per Islamic traditions, we will commence our program with a recitation from the Holy Quran. For this, I would like to invite Mr. Zahir Ahmed Sahib to please recite some selected verses from the Holy Quran.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May peace and blessings of Allah upon you. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وإذا قيل لهم لا تفسدوا في الأرض قالوا إنما نحن مصلحون ألا إنهم هم المفسدون ولكن لا يشعرون. من أجل ذلك كتبنا على بني إسرائيل أنه من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا ومن أحياها فكأنما أحيا الناس جميعا ولقد جاءتهم رسلنا بالبينات ثم إن كثيرا منهم بعد ذلك في الأرض لمسرفون. Ladies and gentlemen, I just recited the verse number 12 and 13 from chapter 2 and verse number 33 from chapter 5 of Holy Quran. The English translation of these verses is as follows. And when it is said to them, create not disorder on the earth, they say, we are only promoters of peace. Beware, it is surely they who create disorder, but they do not perceive it. On account of this, we prescribed for the children of Israel that whosoever killed a person, unless it be for killing a person or for creating disorder in the land, it shall be as if he had killed all mankind. And whoso gave life to one, it shall be as if he had given life to all mankind. And our messengers came to them with clear signs, yet even after that, many of them commit excesses in the land. Jazakallah.
Thank you, Zahid Saab, for that delightful recitation. What a simple and beautiful message it was for the mankind. In case you missed it, I will quote part of those verses before you once again. I will quote this one first. Whoever killed a person, it shall be as if he has killed all mankind. And whoso gave life to one, it shall be as if he had given life to all mankind. And the other one is, and when it is said to them, create not disorder on the earth, they say, we are only promoters of peace. Beware, it is surely they who create disorder, but they don't perceive it. The reason I have highlighted these verses is that they address the negative consequences of disorder, corruption, violence, and a lack of willingness to pursue peace. The Holy Quran encourages people to strive for peace and refrain from causing harm and disorder in the world. It promotes the idea of reconciliation and resolving conflicts peacefully to maintain harmony in society. The theme of today's event, from remembrance to resolution, charting a path to the world peace, is a testament of these Quranic teachings. Distinguished guests, on behalf of Ahmadiyya Muslim community, I welcome you all to the Ahmadiyya Peace Symposium. Now, before we dive into hear from the line of speakers, I want to take this opportunity to acknowledge some of our honorable guests here on the stage. Honorable Joe Szakacs MP, Honorable Senator Karen Grogan, Honorable Michelle Lensink MLC, Mayor Angela Evans, Mayor Michael Coxon. We also have on the stage representatives of our Ahmadiyya Muslim community, respected Imam Kamar Mubashir Sahib, and respected Mahmood Qadir Khan Sahib, who is the acting president of Adelaide West region. I would also like to acknowledge all of our guests who have graciously accepted our invitation and joined us here today, and I can see them all. We are privileged to have you all here. Thank you. Our program today is going to be filled with insightful speeches from our esteemed speakers who will share their wisdom and perspective on the topics related to peace building, tolerance, and understanding. We hope that you will leave this event with a deeper appreciation of the role of peace in our lives. I won't make you wait any longer. Let's get into this. Our first speaker today is Dr. Ataul Hadi. Yeah, so I was seeing where you are. I know Dr. Ataul Hadi personally, and he is a dedicated and selfless volunteer of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Youth Adelaide West chapter, and is respected by elders and younger members alike. He's also an active cyclist, and he often encourages everyone to join him for long-distance cycle rides, and I mean 80-plus kilometers. And he is the driving force behind my first ever 60-plus kilometer cycle ride. Today, Dr. Hadi will be presenting the works carried out for humanitarian services by our youth auxiliary. Dr. Hadi, please come on stage.
He's really talked me up. I've been trying to encourage him for a long cycle ride for about 2 years. He hasn't joined me. But anyways, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah to all the guests. May peace and blessings of God be upon you. I have got a very brief presentation today on some of the community engagement or various initiatives done by our youth. So you'll see on some slides, but I thought before we get into it, it's probably prudent to just give you guys a bit of an idea of our hierarchy, the organizational structure. So at the, I don't know if you can see my cursor. Yeah. So at the top there is Khalifatul Masih, who is His Holiness Mirza Masroor Ahmed. He is the current worldwide head of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. And under him, this is where our youth sits. So we've got a national president who is elected. He's got his own executive committees. Then there's regional president. Then there is local president and their committees. So with that in mind, my presentation will actually have some of the activities by our community as a whole and some just by the youth. We believe as Muslims that God had put in every human an instinct to do good, to serve others. But as a Muslim, the duty becomes twofold. We see that in Quran, God has described Muslims in these words. It says, "You are the best of people, ever raised for the good of mankind, because you have been raised to serve others. You enjoin what is good and forbid evil, and believe in Allah." And we see that the lived example of the founder of Islam, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was a testimony to that. The founder of our very community, Ahmadiyya Muslim community, he described his mission in these words. He said, "My desire, my wish, and my objective is serving humanity. It is my job, my faith, my inspiration, and my way." And that's where we find our motivation and inspiration. The first initiative, so my slides will actually have some screenshots of various media headlines where some of our initiatives have been picked up. So it's just a bit of a tip of an iceberg. So this particular screenshot from the Sydney Morning Herald, which they covered for our community's fundraising through Door Knock Appeal. Our community actually holds the record in Australia to raise biggest ever community fundraising, just under 100Ks. That's from Australia Day Participation Leadership Board. You can see in all eastern states, our communities, volunteers were the highest in numbers, and we take part in Clean Up Australia Day every single year in over 20 sites all across Australia. And that's also driven from the teaching of Islam that says cleanliness is half of your faith. That's just some various headlines from that. We also take part in Tree Plantation Day all across Australia. In Islam, tree plantation is actually considered an act of continuous charity, because not only humans but various animals also derive benefit from that. And we liaise with various local groups. So here in Adelaide, we liaise with Friends of Charles Sturt every year and do tree plantation. That's just some more pictures on that. Charity is a very integral part of Islam. This picture is from a couple months ago when we raised just over $10,000 for the homeless individuals in Adelaide to serve them warm meals. That's just one of the many initiatives. We actually have also partnered with Salvation Army and delivered them food on a weekly basis for many, many years to feed the homeless individuals. And as any natural disaster or any adverse events happen, we also chip in. That's from bushfire appeal, donations, various events that actually happen in the very premises of this mosque to raise funds. That's a volleyball tournament for veterans. And also Navita fundings. We also like to engage our youth in various activities that promote social cohesion, social harmony, remove misconceptions. So this is some of the news cutouts from a couple of years ago when we actually traveled about 30,000 kilometers from all across those little dots you guys see here. And went to Uluru, and on the way stopped in about 50 towns and engaged with local people to answer some of their questions regarding Islam. And that's also another cutout from that. That's our participation in Anzac Day. We participate in Anzac Day every year. It's an opportunity for us to reflect on the past and how we carry ourselves in the future, but also to involve our youth and tell them about the history of our country. Our mosques are the very epicenters of promoting peaceful activities. This very Peace Symposium is another link in that chain. That's a quote by our national president, Imam ul-Haq Kausar, who said, "All our mosques are built with the purpose of bringing people together and serving humanity." We also celebrate Australia Day every single year in all our mosques around Australia, and that's an opportunity for us to be grateful to God for all that we enjoy here in Australia, but also to reflect on how we can do better and to reinforce our promise to serve our communities. That's also from Australia Day. So this is just another cutout about the feeding the hungry. This is actually from a couple of years ago. Being a Muslim and a Muslim community and having mosques, we're not alien to vandalism. This is from a couple months ago when our mosque was run down by about 12 intruders, while actually our missionary was residing in the same place. And Islam teaches that forgiveness is better, even when someone's wronged you, and you can actually take revenge. But that's what you'll always find a community doing, and we actually ended up forgiving all those people. Peace Symposium, this is probably from 8 to 10 years ago. So Peace Symposiums are not new for us. We like to do them over and over to come up with new ideas, to bring people together. And, being a Muslim, we know that Muslims have had their fair share of attention for sometimes, or actually most of the times, wrong purposes, but we like to stand up and highlight the actual teachings of Islam. We condemn violence in all its forms. That's from us when there was a Flinders Street attack. Coffee in Islam. Humanity First is our non-religious, non-political charity relief agency that we raise funds for. It actually operates in 62 countries across 6 continents and is predominantly run by volunteers. They do some tremendous work. They run 8 hospitals in some of the very impoverished areas in the world, about 43 schools, various Water for Life projects, Gift for Sight, orphanages, food security programs, and disaster reliefs. And that's a screenshot from when we actually received Governor's Multicultural Award for Community Sector for some of these services in recognition. That was all for today. Thank you everyone for coming. I really hope you enjoy your time here. Thanks.
I'll be climbing up the stairs a few times today. Thank you, Dr. Hadi, for setting such a beautiful tone for our gathering. Okay, it's time to hear from our honorable guests now. Let me introduce you to MP Joe Szakacs. Many of our guests will know that Joe is the Minister of Police, Emergency Services and Correctional Services. Other than being a politician, Joe is an admitted legal practitioner of the Supreme Court of South Australia. Joe is also a representative swimmer. I never know Joe, I didn't even know that before. Joe has competed nationally, internationally, and has held multiple essay awards. I will invite MP Joe Szakacs to take the podium and share his message.
Good evening, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. It is so wonderful to be here with you this evening. As for some people, I'm very pleased to see again, some that I've had the pleasure of meeting for the first time tonight. But this particularly is such an important occasion for your community that I've had the pleasure of joining you on for a number of previous occasions, but also on this day, Remembrance Day, which is such a sacred day for Australia, as we pause on the 11th day, 11th month, on the 11th hour, to commemorate the 130,000 individuals who have lost their life in pursuit of our nation's safety, our nation's freedom. And it is also an opportunity for those of us who remember and recognise conflict from around the world to pause and recognise the extraordinary impact that war and conflict has had on all of us and continues to have to this day. Mansour, thank you for emceeing tonight. I'm not sure where Mansour's gone. To your acting president and also to Imam Tahir, thank you for your leadership in your community as always. It was just a couple of weeks ago that I was here, and you, as you have on so many previous occasions, welcomed our community to this mosque. And as I heard with great pride the wonderful words of your holy book tonight, I was also reflecting on just how lucky we are here in our community to celebrate this type of diversity, and in particular the beautiful recital of your holy book. And it's just across the road, literally across the road, that there is also a very similar beautiful recital of the Sikh holy book at the Gurdwara in Allenby Gardens. And then a couple of kilometres down the road we have the Greek Orthodox community, who also in beautiful tongue and beautiful voice and song recite their holy book. And I reflect on that because it is who we are here in the West. It's diverse, it is loving and accepting, and I hate this word tolerance, but we don't tolerate people here, we celebrate our differences. And I think I've reflected on this before, but this particular place, your site, has a very special meaning for me and wonderful nostalgia. I remember coming here in very different form from about 4 or 5 years of age, when it was the Veneto Club, a club very special to the Italian community. And I had some wonderful friends and remain wonderful friends with people whose family links draw back to the Veneto region of Italy. So if I fast forward 35 years, it is wonderful to continue to celebrate on this site in a very different way, but in a continually important way of a cultural diversity that makes us bigger and stronger and better here in the West. Peace is fragile, and peace is something that we have to work on. It doesn't happen. In fact, quite the contrary. And if we just take a moment to look around the world at the moment, it is heartbreaking. It fills us with sadness. And I know that so many people in this room would be, as we speak, reflecting on the extraordinary loss of life in the Middle East. Of course, the terror that was inflicted on innocent civilians in southern Israel, and the subsequent extraordinary loss of life of innocent people in Gaza. And you know in this place that this is a conflict that has not had a root in 2 weeks or 2 months, but this has been a conflict since 1948 that has cost life, that has destroyed hope, and that sadly at this juncture tonight looks like there is not a time in the past that we've been any closer to a resolution. And we've lived through now for far too long the conflict in Ukraine, again due to aggressors of Russia. And you in this room tonight have shared a common story to my father, who escaped or left their country of birth. In my case, my father left Hungary and came to Australia as a refugee to seek the safety, to seek the happiness and the peace that I hope that you find and enjoy here in Australia and South Australia, a bit closer to home. But my very passionate and strong view about the path to charting peace is that it starts here. And it starts with your and our and my community. We can't have world peace. We can't have the successes that we seek for our world and our globe unless we start right here with each and every conversation and interaction that we have. It starts with that smile that you might make and give to someone that you've never seen before as you walk past them on the street. It starts with the kindness that often must come from a place where kindness isn't returned. And I'm inspired by the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. I'm inspired by your community because you live and breathe these values. The kindness, the humility, and the generosity. And it's with that I know that nobody in your community is leaving anything to chance, that as you pursue peace, because kindness is absolutely a virtue, and that kindness is one that I always feel when I come to your community, and one that your community is known for amongst the broader South Australian community. So thank you for having all of us this evening, all of our guests that are here this evening, and once again thank you for opening your community to us.
Thank you, Joe, for those beautiful words. Our next speaker is Senator Grogan. Born in southwest London and having grown up on the World's End public housing estate, Karen migrated to Australia at the age of 22. Since then, she has had a wide and varied career across the social and community services sector, the environment, mental health, Aboriginal affairs, and education. Karen spends her time in the Senate fighting for well-paid and secure jobs, universal access to healthcare, and equitable education system. Please join me to welcome Senator Karen Grogan here at the podium.
Thank you very much. It's an honour to be here with you today. I was first here a few months ago, and it was amazing to be welcomed into your community, and so much love and so much acceptance. So thank you so much for having me today. Like I say, it is an honour to be here. I'd like to pay my respects to your elders, your leaders, and the whole community who's come out today. We are in very challenging times, and I think the actions of this community, of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, are really inspiring for many other communities and certainly for me. Pursuing peace, openly talking about peace, inviting other communities to share with you, to share your thoughts, to share their thoughts. These are the building blocks of long-term peace in our community. Because the path to peace is the responsibility of all of us. Community organisations, religious organisations, and structures within a community all are well placed to start the pathway to peace in troubled times, but also to hold that peace in all times. We cannot take our eye off it. Today marks the 105th anniversary since the end of the First World War. And we do take a moment today to think of all of the lives that were lost, particularly the peacekeepers whose lives are lost often outside of the conflict, core conflict that we hear about. But our thoughts to all of those people who've lost their lives in war. World War I was supposed to be the war to end all wars. But as we know, tragically, that has not been the case. Too often we see communities, families, countries devastated by armed conflict. Following World War I, we experienced a shift in international democracy with the establishment of new and emerging states, democratic constitutions and parliamentary processes, all in the aim to make sure we didn't end up in that situation ever again. But again, as I say, we all know that was not the case. The League of Nations was set up, its principal mission was to maintain world peace. And although the League failed to deliver on its mission, it did create the pathway for other structures that have been more successful in the years since, including the United Nations. But the path to conflict has become so much more complex. Global agreements have been established and new types of war emerge. Targeted, bilateral, guerrilla warfare. And we see those styles of warfare devastating countries around the world. So these types of conflicts draw on us to create a new type of social fabric, one that essentially echoes what your community is doing here, in reaching out, in building that fabric, in embracing other cultures, embracing other religions, to find that fabric that works for our community, our very diverse community here in Western Adelaide, to ensure that we build that peace for the long term. Because when we look over the waters at other countries, we see how devastating, deeply, deeply devastating those actions of war can be. The forefront of our minds, obviously, is the war in Ukraine and the Hamas-Israel conflict. The horrible common thread of both of these conflicts is the deep, deep, unnecessary, devastating loss of innocent life. The Australian government keeps calling for protection of civilian lives and the observation of international humanitarian law, and we will continue to do so. The human suffering we're seeing is widespread, unacceptable. We must protect civilian lives, and we must ensure the safe and unimpeded access for people to leave those conflict zones. There has been some access, but as we all know, it has not been anywhere near enough. Australia is engaging with other countries to try and build coalition, to take action, to stop these conflicts. But it is slow, it is extraordinarily slow work. And in the interim, we're seeing devastating scenarios overseas. It is difficult to chart a course to peace in these complex and turbulent times. And I do believe that the spirit in which this symposium was convened and the Women's Symposium that I attended earlier in the year, they are part of the pathway. They are a large part of the answer. Acceptance and love. Your sign, love for all, hatred for none. If we could get that message out across the world, and for people to truly understand what it means. We're not all going to agree with each other all the time. But for the good of our communities, for the good of our humanity, we have to reach out, we have to understand difference, and we have to find compromise. And we have to protect innocent civilians. So thank you so much for having me here. It is a great honour. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen, for sharing those touching and the deep thoughts there. It's certainly unfortunate, and let's pray for the peace in this world. Before moving on to the next speaker, we will show you a short video presentation compiled by our media team, also known as the MTA or the Muslim CV Ahmadiyya team. The presentation will provide you an introduction to His Holiness Mirza Masroor Ahmad Sahib, who is the 5th and the current Caliph of Ahmadiyya Muslim community.
Persecuted for your beliefs, jailed for your faith, and exiled from your homeland, but you refuse to turn to bitterness or vengeance. Instead, His Holiness has emerged as a leader of wisdom and compassion, a champion of nonviolence among nations.
No society can truly succeed unless it guarantees the rights of all of its peoples, including religious minorities, whether they're Ahmadiyya, Muslims in Pakistan, or Baha'i in Iran, or Coptic Christians in Egypt.
I would like very much to confirm my support for the work that His Holiness and the Ahmadiyya Muslim community are doing, particularly in London.
You know, I didn't know when I was elected, then my name will be proposed. The election is the same as the Pope is elected, but without smoke.
You are a regular visitor and speaker to parliaments and assemblies around the world, whether it's the US Congress or the European Parliament.
Let it be clear that I am not speaking in support or favor of any particular individual country. What I wish to say is that all forms of cruelty, wherever they exist, must be eradicated and stopped, regardless of whether they are perpetrated by the people of Palestine, the people of Israel, or the people of any other country.
In this we are allied with His Holiness, a courageous champion of religious freedom and of peace.
I'm very glad that the movement like yours will do something to correct this image. Islam means peace.
I should thank Your Holiness for your highly enlightened sermon, not only for the Ahmadis, but I would say for all mankind. Love for all and hatred for none. And this message not only for Muslim, but for everybody.
You are a man, though of humble beginnings, your leadership has made you a figure of global prominence, and you have become a guide for millions of Muslims worldwide.
MashaAllah. Great work by the MDA team. If you need more information about His Holiness Mirza Masroor Ahmad Sahib or Ahmadiyya Jamaat, or just want some Islamic literature, please visit our website www.alislam.org. Our next speaker is Honorable Michelle Lensink. Michelle is a dear friend of the community. She's a member of the Legislative Council since 2003. She has served as Minister of Human Services in the previous government. Michelle has a long-standing interest in human services, that I can say. In 2015, Michelle became the first serving female member of the Legislative Council to have, giving her living experience of, have a baby actually. You had a baby in 2015, right? So yeah, Michelle is the first serving member, female member to have a baby. And that gave her living experiences of challenges of juggling a career and family. Please, Michelle, come on stage.
Thank you very much for that welcome. It is a great pleasure to be back with the Ahmadiyya Muslim Association. As Mansoor said, I have been here many times, and that little baby, I think you were here, Joe, running around the stage as a very disruptive toddler. So yes, it's been a great pleasure to come and share with this community over several events over many years. And like speakers before me, I do feel very welcome in this community. This is a community which, like many people who've come to Australia for various reasons, has shared in past trauma, current trauma as we see what's happening on the news at the moment. But we live here in peace in Australia and in South Australia, and we're very grateful to have each other and to have each other's support so that we can share in our common goals in life. It's often said that Australia is a very diverse nation. We've got people who've come from all parts of the globe, together with our Indigenous First Nations people. So we have a huge amount of different cultures, and as I think has been said before, that is to be celebrated. Diversity is a strength, not a weakness. And so I think as far as the objectives of peace are concerned, the more we understand each other, the more we come together, we have dialogue, we share meals together, share experiences, and realise that as humans, we are all the same. It is Remembrance Day today. Excuse me. Like Joe, my parents came from conflict, the Second World War. They were children in the Second World War, and it's always very triggering for me to talk about my parents because people often didn't talk about the war and those experiences. But from what I knew, they suffered, their families suffered. My grandfather left the Netherlands. He had to leave so that he wasn't forced to work for Nazis. And a lot of Dutchmen starved to death or worked in factories. Those who were lucky enough, like my grandfather, to escape and live on a farm were fortunate. But my dad and his family lived in a unit in Rotterdam where they were bombed and starved. And at the end of the war, like many countries in Europe, their families were close to starvation. My mum was more fortunate. She was on a farm in the south, and they had more resources. So the celebrations we have in Australia to commemorate the Allied forces who freed families like mine are so important to commemorate. And as we come together with these new conflicts, we stand together and we hold hands and we look each other in the eye and accept our common humanity and pray for peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Thanks for sharing your personal story and those insights. All I can say, war is evil. Let's pray again for peace in this world. Now we have the Mayor of the City of Charleston, Mayor Angela Evans. Angela is no stranger to the community as well, and we are always honored to have her at our mosque. Angela is a committed leader providing responsible governance in a framework of strategic planning, enhancing relationships, and fostering community connections. Outside work, Angela enjoys cooking, walking, reading in her spare time, and also producing food from her home garden. I'm pretty sure, Mayor, that will smell really good. Please.
Thank you, Mansoor. I'm delighted to be here again this evening. This is an important event, and I think the discussions that happen here and afterwards are extremely significant, particularly now. So, good evening to all. Can I also affirm the acknowledgement of country, also special guests. It's my pleasure to be here with you tonight as we come together to not only observe Remembrance Day, but discuss the importance of communities fostering understanding, tolerance and peace among different religious and spiritual traditions. Remembrance Day, observed on the 11th month, the 11th day of the 11th month of the 11th hour, is a time to honour the sacrifices of those who served in conflicts. It's a day to reflect on the human cost of war and express gratitude for the courage and dedication of our veterans. And by remembering their sacrifices, we pledge to work towards a world where peace prevails, and the lessons of history guide us towards harmony and understanding. Remembrance Day serves as a poignant reminder that through collective remembrance, we strive to build a future free from the after effects of war. At City of Charles Sturt, we believe that there is unity in diversity, and as a city with over 105 different diverse cultures, we understand the importance of inclusivity, respect and understanding, regardless of one's religion or cultural background. It plays an important part in shaping a more peaceful and harmonious community. Respecting all faiths and beliefs is crucial for fostering unity within a community. By acknowledging and appreciating the diversity of religious perspectives, we create an inclusive environment that promotes understanding and harmony. This respect forms the foundation for strong social bonds, encouraging collaboration and shared values. Embracing religious diversity not only enriches our collective cultural tapestry, but also builds bridges that transcends differences, leading to a more resilient and united community. Our city is enriched by the tapestries of faith that are present, as each belief system brings unique values and perspectives that, when united, can be a force for positive change. The teachings of compassion, love and tolerance that many faiths share offer us a roadmap to create a more harmonious community and nation. Today's Peace Symposium is an opportunity to engage in dialogue, share perspectives and embrace the richness that diversity brings. Interfaith harmony reminds us that despite our varied beliefs, we share a common humanity, and by promoting understanding among different religious traditions, we pave the way for a more tolerant and inclusive society. And each of us has a role to play in fostering respect of diverse faiths, creating an environment where coexistence thrives. Meaningful conversations have the potential to break down barriers, dispel misconceptions, and lay the foundation for a peaceful society. And in a world that often emphasises differences, today the symposium demonstrates that cooperation and empathy can prevail. As Mayor of the City of Charles Sturt, I urge all members of our community to be advocates for their community members, take part in local initiatives, support change, and be a voice for others when in need. And I was so impressed by the presentation of what the youth of Ahmadiyya are doing in the wider community. It's an extraordinary example of the things that we're here to represent today. We can have all of these conversations, but if they don't translate into action, then they're just talk. I am particularly impressed by the breadth and diversity of activities that the youth are involved in, and we do know that there is a transformational aspect that comes with volunteering, not just for the volunteer, but for those who receive the benefit of the volunteering. There's been research around it, and we know that it transforms something in the cognitions of individuals that gives them a better sense of well-being. But not only that, it's when people see those good works, it has the same impact on them. And so each of us have a responsibility to be part of that transformational work. So we must ensure that we're empowering the next generation so that they're prepared to be leaders of the future and that they have access to programs that provide mentorship and educational opportunities just like the ones we've seen. In a climate where we're currently witnessing division based on beliefs, it is truly heartening to be at today's symposium that promotes peace and coexistence. And at the City of Charles Sturt, we are dedicated to supporting initiatives and events that promote interfaith dialogue, understanding and cooperation. And we'll continue to facilitate the exchange of ideas, knowledge and experiences among different communities, nurturing an environment of trust and respect. Again, thank you very much for having me here this evening. Peace be to you all. Thank you.
Thanks, Angela. Thanks for sharing your thoughts there. Now I'm going to invite the Mayor of the City of West Torrens, Mayor Michael Coxon. Michael's vision for West Torrens is to ensure that the environment, businesses and industries across the region remains productive and that its communities stay connected and strong to respond positively to the challenges and opportunities presented by a changing environment. In his prior life, Michael has worked in the real estate, in residential commercial sales, and property management. Please join me in requesting Mayor Michael to enlighten us.
The most important responsibility that a mayor of a city has is to enrich the lives of its ratepayers and its residents at a local level. But I'll make that introduction very simple, and that is that it is critical that we unite our community. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests and members of our beloved community, Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you all. It is an honour and a privilege for me to stand before you today as the Mayor of West Torrens, a neighbouring council of quite a diverse and vibrant city, especially within the sacred walls of this mosque. Now, the Mayor who spoke before me, we both share cities that are very diverse. And of course, as the new census figures come out, sometimes my community is much more diverse than hers, but where we now in West Torrens have 110 diverse communities. So I noted that you said 105, but I think you may still have more. As we gather here on this solemn occasion of Remembrance Day, we come together not only as a community, but as a symbol of unity, understanding, and shared humanity. Today is a day when nations across the world pause to reflect on the sacrifices made by those who served in the defence of freedom and justice. It is a day to remember and honour the brave men and women who laid down their lives for the values that we all hold dear. In this sacred space, I'm reminded of the deep sense of community and inclusivity that has always been a hallmark of this mosque and our city as a whole. Our city thrives because of its diversity, and it is through gatherings like this one, this Peace Symposium, that we celebrate the richness that each community brings to our collective community. Muslims, like many others, have played a vital role in the defence of our shared values. Today we remember and express gratitude to the Muslim soldiers who stood shoulder to shoulder with their fellow citizens, regardless of their faith, defending the principles that bind us together as a society. As we observe this Remembrance Day, let us reflect on the universal message of peace that is at the core of all faiths, including Islam. The teachings of Islam emphasise compassion, justice, and sanctity of human life. It is a faith that calls for unity and understanding among people of different backgrounds and beliefs. That's what it stands for. In honouring sacrifices of our servicemen and servicewomen, let us also renew our commitment to building bridges of understanding and cooperation within our community. Today is not only about looking back at history, but it is also about forging a future where the principles of unity, tolerance, and respect prevail. In conclusion, let us remember and honour those who gave their lives for the cause of freedom and justice. Let us also celebrate the diversity that enriches our city and strive to build a future where every individual, regardless of their background, can live in peace and harmony. Thank you for your attention, and may peace be upon you all.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for sharing your views. Our last and concluding speech is by Imam Kamran Bashir Sahib, who is the regional missionary of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Association of South Australia. Imam Kamran Sahib was born and bred in the UK and completed his training to become an Imam in 2014. After completing his training, he was posted to Australia in 2015, where he was first based in Sydney, then Perth, and now in Adelaide. And always say, finally, you're in the best city in Australia. After this speech, Imam Kamran Sahib will also hold a silent prayer as per our Islamic customs. Guests are free to join however they feel comfortable. Imam Sahib, please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May peace and blessings of Allah the Almighty be upon you all. First and foremost, I would like to thank my distinguished guest from the depth of my heart for once again joining us here today at the Mahmood Mosque, as well as all the attendees that are sat in front of me. May God Almighty also bless you for taking time out of, I'm sure, your busy schedules to make way and come here for something which is extremely the need of the time, and that is peace. I also would like to commemorate all the soldiers that have given their life for a common theme which has been spoken of by every single speaker that's come before me. That is, first and foremost, of freedom, and secondly, of peace. But with that being said, I would also like to commemorate the lives of all the innocent people who have lost their lives in Ukraine, in Russia, in Israel, and in Palestine. It was extremely heart-touching when I was listening to Michelle speak about the migration that parents made and how it brought tears to her eyes when she was reflecting upon the pain that they must have gone through. That also should give us a bit of understanding about the pain and the suffering that people are going through of having lost their loved ones in Palestine and in Israel. There is a great need today, as the saying goes, to be the change that you would like to see. Hence now it is more important than ever that we come forward and ask for peace and justice. The verses that were recited of the Holy Quran before you in the very beginning of this Peace Symposium had stated that the taking or killing of one life is like killing humanity at large. And the saving of one life is like saving humanity at large. Today, if we all come together, if we all make a consensus effort to bringing about peace, we will then actually be saving at least one life. And in essence, according to the Holy Quran, that could be the change that would bring about a revolution when it comes to saving humanity at large. As all of the respected and esteemed speakers have spoken about the great need for peace, of course, that is an understood factor, but one thing that I would like to also highlight is the importance of justice that needs to be maintained. When we look around the world, especially in the Holy Quran, God Almighty instructs a believer to always maintain justice. So much so that the Holy Quran states that even if you have to vouch against your own parents to uphold justice, you must do so. Hence today, the climate or the situation of the world that we are seeing, it is a great responsibility upon us all that we speak up for justice. Only yesterday, I was sat with a journalist and we were having a conversation, and he informed me of a poll that was taken of the Australian public, in which they were asked that are they in favor of a ceasefire in Israel and Palestine. And it was extremely pleasing to hear, because I had not come across the poll myself yet at that particular time, that he stated that the majority of the Australians wish for a ceasefire. It goes to show that we are incredibly blessed. One cannot be thankful enough to God Almighty that we are living in a country that truly wants peace. But ultimately, the responsibility falls upon our leaders also to speak up and ask for justice to be issued. Throughout or since the attacks on the 7th of October, I have been continuously being asked by members of the community as well as members from external communities that what is my standpoint, what is my point of view? Are you siding with Palestine? Are you siding with Israel? And my response is the response of the Holy Quran and that of Islam, that I stand with justice and peace. This is the notion and the teachings of the religion of Islam. Many a times people get confused, God forbid, that this is a war against Jews and Muslims. And God forbid, that is absolutely not the case. And because of this whole issue at hand, we are finding that Islamophobia has risen at a great extent. So has anti-Semitism. Ultimately, we are finding that the war that is having ripple effects all across the world. That not only the people of Palestine and Israel are suffering, but people around the world are suffering. At times I've come to read various articles, and members of certain communities have told me that certain people are even scared to tell others that I associate with the religion of Islam or I associate myself to the religion of Judaism, out of the fear that I may have to face some sort of violence or some sort of enmity. This is the ripple effect that it is having. Hence there is a great need today that we speak up and we ask for justice and peace. And the greatest justice that can occur today is that of a ceasefire. Because ultimately now what we are seeing is just heartbreaking. That every single day when we turn on the news, believe you me, I do not even wish to look at the news anymore. Because every single day when we turn on our televisions, when we turn on our smartphones, what we are seeing is absolutely heartbreaking. And the little that we can do is at least raise our voice against injustice. And with that, I would also, like I said, only yesterday and a couple of days ago, I was asked that what are your thoughts about the Jewish community because of what is happening? And I was very, very vocal about the fact that I have absolutely nothing against the Jewish community. I have nothing but love for the Jewish community. Because one thing that we need to get out there, that this is not a war between Abrahamic religions, God forbid. This is absolutely nothing like that. Hence, after this program, I am going to extend my hand to the Orthodox Jewish community, in which I will be asking them that I'm opening the doors of my mosque for a prayer vigil that both the communities, or rather all Abrahamic faiths, come together. And I open my mosque, that they come together and we hold a prayer vigil for peace. This is something that I will be doing straight after this event, that I personally will be extending my hand to the Jewish community, to the Christian community, or to the communities of all Abrahamic faiths, to say that let's come together and do what God Almighty instructs us to do, to pray. Because ultimately what we have to understand, the greatest weapon and the most strongest weapon of a believer is that of prayer. And I am a firm believer of that weapon. I will pray and I will continue to pray. And I have absolutely no doubt that my Lord will definitely listen to my prayers. And that is of peace. In the end, I would like to once again request every single one of you that if you cannot do anything, you can definitely pray. So with that being said, I will be concluding this Peace Symposium with a silent prayer, as Mansoor has beautifully been doing the job of the MC, as he has mentioned, that we will be doing our prayer as per the Islamic customs. Anybody who wishes to join, you are free to do so, or if you wish to join in your own way, you are also free to do so. Kindly join me in a silent prayer. Amen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Imam Sahib. Thank you for the perspicacious speech. I'm sure that a lot of what you said would have resonated with